Welcome to I Could Never, a show all about non-monogamy and the many ways it can look. I'm Genevieve from Polyamory on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And I'm joined as always by my co-host and partner, Ishik.
Yes, the Rainbow Rider, the Unicorn Tamer, the Heartbreaker. I'm Ishik, what's up?
Here you are.
Bringing all those skills and more, but also bringing our lovely, wonderful, exciting guest today, Deepak Kashyap. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. And I hate the two of you for not telling me that you got such lovely intros. And I'm like, hi, I'm Deepak. I wanted to be the queer tamer or rainbow whatever, but it's okay.
I mean, we can ride the rainbow together, Deepak.
Oh, Ishak. Promise things you can deliver.
I always pay my debts. But for anyone who's not familiar, just gonna swerve out of that one. For anyone who's not familiar with Deepak, he is a practicing mental health counselor as well as an advocate about LGBTQIA rights and advocacy for diversity and inclusion, especially in corporate environments. And he's coming to us from Canada today.
A good old Canada. I just should warn people, the reason I sound more British than Canadian is because I kind of grew up and studied in the UK, and I was born in India, but I'm technically Canadian.
Well, I'm super excited to hear lots more about that very about that very interesting medley of experiences and how that's maybe informed some of your non-monogamy and relationship practices in general. But before we can get to any of that good stuff, we must first tame the beast. Make it our bitch.
Get
and that
it,
beast's
baby.
name is Vibrevent.
It's Vibrevent time.
It's Vibrevent time.
For anyone who is listening or watching for the first time, we like to start off every show with a little icebreaker called Vibe or Vent, where we shake a little beat, go around, talk about something we're either vibing about this week that we're happy about, or something that we're pissed about that we need to vent and get off our chest. So, Ishik. Oh, you want to point it to me?
Oh, I was right.
I'm vibing today.
Yeah,
I will
that's right.
I will kick us off. I'm vibing today. I just had a great lunch with this anarchist organizer who, you know, when you just are, you lose track of time and space and you're just riffing ideas and you feel like, hey, I just met you, but I've known you for a long time.
And this is crazy.
One of those. And it was really nice. And he was telling me about this space that he's going to go to in Greece called Exarchia. It's a part of Athens, which is a region, he said, in Athens that has been police-free for 40 years.
Jesus.
It's a self-sustained anarchist community that he's going to spend time in. And I was like, I want to know everything. Tell me everything. So super happy to learn more about examples that maybe don't get promoted so as to not inspire copycats. But I would love to learn more about what works, and and all of the cool people that he might find there. So that was a very cool lunch, and now we're here talking with you. So today's a great day.
Well, I really liked that, and that was super cool and interesting. But I will note that you did leave me hanging on my "Call Me Maybe" reference.
I did not. It was over my head. Maybe I'm too young and cool for you.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm older than you, but
I got
time is
snubbed
more.
and then dunked on. So, well, this is a great start for me.
Relationships. But I would love to toss it to you, Deepak. Do you feel like you're vibing or are you venting today?
Well, currently I think I'm vibing, even though there is a lot to vent about in the world currently. And I've been catatonic every time I open my Instagram and I learn about, Gaza, and I learn about what's happening in Ukraine and how democracies around the world are taking a nosedive. But yesterday I had a client of mine. I was first able to introduce the concept of relationship diversity to them as an antidote to loneliness, epidemic of loneliness that we're all going through. And then I saw that glint in their eye as something went off in their head. But it was very, very interesting that for the first time ever, somebody presented relationship diversity as not just a positive idea, but as an idea that is necessary for some people.
I love that.
Yeah, it's quite vibing about that. That's how it is. You create these little bubbles of sanity and growth And sometimes it does feel like this is a bubble in a lava.
Mm.
But you need these bubbles to not be burnt by lava. Because what good am I if I'm going to just sit here being burnt out by what's happening in the world? Will I be able to help it? No. But if I still have some emotional reserves, I probably will be able to join a protest. I'm probably able to sign some petitions that need to be signed. So, or not to torpedo my own relationships with people, because your relationships are lovely when you are under stressed and burnt out, aren't they?
Oh, no.
So, yeah. So yeah, I am vibing and venting both. Take that.
How dare you? That's not what the thing is called. No, I'm kidding.
You vibent all the time.
I vibent all the time. In fact, I vibent so often that we've made a word for it, even though it's...
Are you vibenting today?
God.
Do it.
No. Only one vibent per episode.
Okay.
No. I like how I'm just starting to make up arbitrary rules about the made up
Relationships.
We'll have another third callback to that one. I mean, it's tough because I also kind of I have a very small vibe that it's like making me a little bit happy right this minute, but then I'm also just kind of largely venting about kind of the same stuff that you were talking about, right? Like just before this, I saw, I don't know, I feel like I don't want to say specifics and bum our fucking listeners out, but like I saw some shit about some stuff happening in Gaza and it was really fucking upsetting. And so it's like hard to go from that and be like, well, my life is great.
It's okay. That's the whole part of it, right? That is
the whole part of it. It's having the totality of our experience. I will say what my mini little vibe is too, just to kind of balance it out, I guess, a little bit. I'm sort of vibing about my shirt. It's stupid. Okay. It's very silly. It's specifically this outer shirt, not this salmon colored whatever one. Because it's so fucking busted. I don't know if the
You've had it for 15 years or something.
I don't know, 15 years.
It's couture.
I love this shirt because the longer I've had it, the more busted up it's gotten and the more character it's gotten. Mm-hmm. And I love it more and more and more every time. The way that it's breaking down and the way that it's fraying.
It's like when someone handsome gets salt and pepper as they age. That's
very much is the salt and pepper of button-down shirts used as an outer shirt. So, yeah.
Ishik, I've got something to say about what you said. In words of a great philosopher, drag queen, whose name is just eluding me, once came up on television and said, you know what, during the AIDS crisis of 80, we would bury a friend in the morning, go to a wake in the afternoon, and in the evening go dancing, because it was only joy that helped us deal with what was going on. So joy was not just a celebration, but it was the medicine that was required. So don't feel bad about having a life. Don't feel bad about having joy. You did not choose for them to suffer, but you don't have to be miserable for them to be okay. So as long as you're aware that with this joy comes energy enough to do, even press that like button or that share button, or I was Googling how to be on that fucking flotilla, but I don't know if I can. So in the face of that quote-unquote lack of bravery that I had not to be on that flotilla, I did have bravery enough to do something that I did. And I know this is virtue signaling on a different level altogether, but James and I, my partner and I, have completely agreed that we would be donating half of our wedding to Gaza. So there's something we can do, and you are doing, like even now talking about it, you know we are setting a mood. We'll be letting people know, just because we're talking about sexuality and relationships, which are topics largely reserved for peacetime. That doesn't mean that we do not see the pain in the world. Does that make sense to you?
I mean, 100%. And I also think, like, I often will say on the podcast that a big part of why we get so much of the texture of people's lives beyond just like specifically what is the thing that they do in relationships is because that texture informs our relationships, it defines us, and it gives us the energy to engage in the rest of the work we do to have those relationships. So there's a definitely a circular nature to it. It's the holism of who we are as people. And so in the interest of that, you're already starting to talk a little bit about your partner and some of how you are together. And I'd love to hear more about that and the rest of your relationship. So could you tell the listeners and the viewers a little bit about what your relationships look like and a little bit about your non-monogamy? So
yeah, I think for most of my life, just like most other people, I was monogamous. I understood that, and by the way, nothing wrong with monogamy. People who choose monogamy, it's entirely a choice that you can make, respecting who you are. All I want is that choice to be respectful, right? So I think for me, it was a very uneventful first relationship. 3 years into it, I realized, okay, we need to open this up, because first it was just like, but it's only sex. Don't worry, it's not going to be anything else. But then I was like, the sex that I'm having with other people, I also care for them. Is that okay? Does that make me a bad person? Well, does that make me a good person but a bad partner? What does it make me, right? So it took me years to accept that I am a non-monogamous person. Because it's kind of a weird thing, because you're defining yourself with a negative. Like, I'm not that. Because that, which is monogamous, is such a standard definition of morality, propriety, fidelity, loyalty, that you go, okay, so am I not that? So that journey was almost like a second coming out. Because when queer people are coming out, this whole thing is what's defined, that definitional pillar of righteousness, that definitional pillar of you being a respectable member of society, you being a reproductive member of society, right? I mean, it's not like queer people can't reproduce. It's just that's the first.
We do it through our gay agenda, obviously.
Yeah,
I'm joking. It's a joke for legal purposes.
Yeah, and trust me, no one's getting pregnant with the way I do things. So yeah, it took a bit of time, and I mean, before COVID, it was just like, okay, I do it only because I'm a man, and I can't. I don't have as much control over my loins, and that's why we do it. That's the reason.
I like your like toxic masculinity face. It's pretty good.
Right?
Got it.
Right? Did you see I also lowered my voice when I was talking about it? So that I don't sound, oh my God, gay. So the idea was that it was just like this guilty thing I was doing. I wish I wasn't that, but I'd accepted that this is what I like. And I have zero control over my senses. And that's why I am in an open relationship. But the ideals were still committed monogamies. And then during the lockdowns, I had, just like everyone else in the world, I had loads of time on my hand. I'd lost my job at the time. And very few people had spare money to come to therapy and things like that, even though that's what so what I decided was, why don't I just give free therapy to people online? I started an online support group called a Polyamory support group. And that's when it was just an awakening. Even though I started it, I still entered that group with this idea of, I'm just open. You guys are poly. Let's help you. And then within the end of first session, I was like, fuck no. I am the mother poly here. It was awesome as a realization. And then I think that also helped me talk to my partner and realize that, hey, this will only work if you are poly, but you accept that I am. And I do not want you to be coerced into it. And today, I think we both identify as poly, and he has a semi-romantic, regular sexual partner. I don't have a particular romantic partner, but what I do is I have a lot of emotional, friends whom I'm sexual with, and I have one platonic partner that I've been with for the past 17 years.
Aw.
I have multiple friends like that, but currently I'm only dating James.
Got it. When you brought it to him saying, "Oh, this needs to be more than just open," what did he say?
He himself was he still is a very, very sex positive person. He did the work. Because, not because only he loved me, because if I say he did the work because he loved me and he wanted to be in this relationship, well, it just sounds like I coerced him into a place.
Sure.
Right? Like, you'll do it if you love me. No, that wasn't the case. So it wasn't a shock to him. It was just romance is considered such a sacred box that you do not pry open in front of everyone. And especially in Western civilizations where every touch is sexualized. In the East, that's not the case. So I do like that background that I come with as well, that I just need you to hold me and hug me. But earlier, I would still even use like bad terms like, oh, I'm just a social romantic butterfly. She can't sit on one flower. She has to flit about. Because that's the only vocabulary you sort of inherit until you come and meet people who are like you. So I definitely find my life to be far more rewarding now than it was when I was in closet about my desires.
In evolving your relationship with James, was that a smooth evolution, or were there ever any like hiccups? No, like what?
Darling, it was an evolution of communication.
Yeah.
There were it would be every week we would sit next, sometimes necessitated by a fight. We would sit across the sofa talking to each other, wondering if what we're doing is right, and then circling back to each other, wondering if what we are doing is right, and then circling back to each other, going to therapy, trying to figure out what kind of polyamory works for us. It was interesting to navigate this with James, because James never identified as poly. He was open. But now he's come to a point where he probably has more of a lover than outside the two of us than I do. So I had my own challenges, and my sort of my character arc, so to speak, came from when he actually did start seeing this guy regularly who's married to somebody else. And he started seeing both of them regularly, and not just sex. They would hang out, they would watch movies and cuddle on the sofa and look for this. This has been going on for nearly 3 or 4 years now. But for whatever reason, which I've made peace with now, they weren't interested in me sexually. I was like, but James, almost all of my lovers, we've had sex together. Like, what's going on? Why am I not invited? And then I was like, what are you doing, Deepak? Just because they like James, now they're under no obligation to stick their genitals in your face.
I like how you tried to like you thought about, should I say stick their dicks in my mouth?
Yeah,
stick their genitals in my face.
There wasn't just a dick there, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I was like, but you were right, Ishak. I feel called out, but in a good way. Right? So it wasn't, and then, okay, so here is where I'm not going to, I don't know, I hope I'm able to redeem myself after having said this. So a lot of the times when there is a group of, say, white people getting together and I'm not welcome, the sort of traumatic memories from being the only brown person in my class in England and, being only brown person in predominantly white spaces and whatnot, that's where my brain went. They're not interested in brown people. And I had to tell myself that for someone to prove they're not racist, they don't have to start now going on and fucking every brown person they meet. That's not how you show that you're not racist.
Yeah.
Right? That's not how you show you're not racist. So I was being triggered at the race level. I was being triggered at the personal level. Like, am I not pretty enough? Am I, like, all of those things. Am I not enough? Am I not enough? Am I not enough? Am I not pretty? Am I not lovable? And then I was like, no, you cannot make this James's responsibility anymore. I did make it as a responsibility. I did try to put in, those vetoes in, like, if they can't do this, if his wife is coming in to have fun and sex, why can't I do that? Well, because these are adult human beings who are deciding how they're going to interact with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And just because they do not want you sexually, that does not make them bad people automatically, and hence give you the right to control James.
Yeah. What I'm hearing and what you're saying is sort of so many people get very fixated on fairness and the way that something should look, should be certain, or even a sense of entitlement, even if we don't want to call it that. It's like, no, it's not fair that this isn't happening. And I always feel like the response to that is what you're saying, which is autonomy. They're a grown person. They can decide who they get naked with. I'm not owed that, but it's so much easier said than internalized.
Oh, Genevieve, Ishik, that was this personal roller coaster, which I'm so glad became a rainbow arc for me. And it didn't just stay roller coaster. I used to have these, that pit of the stomach feelings, and I used to go like, oh my God, so what if he finds them better? And that guy's even taller. Oh my God, he's more handsome than I am. So once I was done moping about it, I had not such enlightened discussions. This is all post hoc. Mm-hmm. This is not how I was when I was in the middle of it. I was an insufferable git. And kudos to James that he stood by me. I kept working on myself where I was like, you know what? Just go into... There's a Buddhist concept called mudita, which is experiencing vicarious pleasure through your partner or through someone else. Anyone else that you love, when you see them happy, when you see them, So compassion, basically. The closest word to mudita in English would be compassion. And I leaned into it. I was like, whether it's jerking off from knowing my partner's getting off, because that guy is so fucking hot, I would get really turned on with the idea that I think I kind of dialed down jealousy a lot more. Then the whole excitatory thing could come up, because jealousy does not make you very excited about things. It just makes you aroused and nervous. It doesn't make you like, oh, now I can respectfully engage with this human being. No, it doesn't give you those skills. So what does help me every time it happens and every time it rears its head is almost a sacrosanct belief in body autonomy of the individual.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Who owns their body? Who owns the bodies of the people he's dating? Nobody. They do. And this almost religious belief helps me center myself, helps me deal with perceived or real rejections. I just came to a point that I was like, I cannot go on behaving like a child. Romance, and especially polyamorous romance, is not for kids. You cannot be emotionally immature and hope that one day you will find polyamory rewarding. Polyamory requires a different set of emotional skills, a different set of emotional, in lack of a better word, powers for you to deal with. For monogamy, there are enough emotional, social, cultural structures in place that will fan envy for people and say, of course you would be envious. Of course you'd be jealous. Monogamy is the last haven for jealousy. Nobody would challenge that. We would tell everybody around us, you shouldn't be jealous of your friends. That's not an attractive thing to have. You shouldn't be jealous of your siblings. You shouldn't be jealous of your colleagues. That's not a good thing. But of course you should be jealous of your partner's love is. Monogamy is a space where you're allowed to be, encouraged to be. In fact, told if you're not jealous, you don't love them.
Yeah.
Right? But to step out of that conditioning as a polyamorous person requires emotional labor, but it has to be a personal emotional labor. You cannot make it other people's responsibility.
I would love to follow up a little bit about some of your work as a psychologist, obviously to the degree that you can share, and legally speaking and ethically speaking. But like, have you worked with people who are also non-monogamous in a professional context?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think now I'm somewhat known in the circles as a relationship therapist. By the way, I've stopped calling myself a couples therapist. I'm a relationship therapist.
Yeah, to not do the duo.
You're not duocentric.
Yeah. You can come and talk to me even about the relationship with your friend. How's that affecting your mental health?
Yeah.
Right? So, yes, I can share some stories with you without any and probably I'll give misleading identifiers. I had a straight man come to me from India, very, like, what's the word for it? Man's man, you know? Macho, somebody who identifies not sharing emotions as a hallmark of masculinity, but was forced to come to me. It almost seemed like it was court mandated, but it was family mandated, right? Comes to me after 2 or 3 failed relationships and says, hey, I want to understand after 2 divorces, what do I do? So we just talked about it. We came to a point that he's actually a sub.
Oh.
He likes to submit. And I'm like, but he didn't have that vocabulary. He didn't have the word. He just had the shame.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like he didn't know what he liked. But the more and more he described me, he's like, well, my wives left me because they thought that I wasn't man enough. It's like, why do you think they thought that? Oh, well, you know, I'm mostly okay, but I sometimes only get hard when someone's telling me that they'll slap my face into a red tomato. And I'm like, so? Well, what if my body says that there has to be something wrong with me? It's like, why do you think there is anything wrong with you? Well, I can't come until I've been crushed between a woman's thighs. Okay.
Yeah.
And then when we started giving him words, it's like, hey, you might be a sub, which doesn't mean you're a substandard human being. It just means you are submissive in that act, and that's what gives you pleasure. And then we went into the anxiety relieving properties of role play. Why some role plays work. It took us a good 3 to 4 months for him to come to a point where he was not, if not fully self-accepting, but at least had started using language that was of dignity. And then collaboratively he did research and he found out there is an organization in Kolkata, India, that is around kinks. And they meet in secret every now and then to teach people bondage, to teach people how to safely use candle wax and this, that. And he attended with full of disgust but curiosity, right? The curiosity was the propellant and disgust were the brake. But this time he had his leg on the brake but didn't press it, right? Because of therapy, didn't press the brake, let the propellant take him to the meetings. Cut to today, found a partner there. Today they got married in the most elaborate Indian wedding. She's a dom, he's a sub, and they're both exhibitionists. So they invite other people into their pleasure dome. So now he's like, there's the first time I feel like I'm married to someone who's not going to leave me.
Aw, yeah.
And it's not like I forced him or I convinced or coerced him to go that way. But we realize if a queer person comes to me, one of the parts of social rehabilitation is tell them to find another queer person or become part of the queer community. That is social rehabilitation. You can't go on life thinking I'm the only gay in the village. Again, it is what you want it to be, as long as you're not cheating, disrespectful, and listening to consent of all parties involved. And I think when I say all parties, because I mean all parties. A lot of the times, primary couples would get into polyamory with this understanding of emotional and moral hierarchy, and then treat the person as a third wheel. Even the words that we have for them, the lexicon is one of disrespect.
Yeah.
All right. So not use the other person just as a scratch to your itch.
Yeah. Yeah, and so often it can be a conversation. It doesn't have to be, sometimes people say, oh, well, there's these decisions, who are you going to choose? And the choice implied in that stressed out question, the choice is this person's better. More? This person's loved more.
And yes, at the end of the day, there will be times when you have to choose. For example, if I'm dating you, Genevieve, I have to choose if you're sick, I need to be with you, or do I need to be at my other partner's graduation party? There will be those choices that parents make between multiple kids that they have. Which kid needs what?
Yeah, like
what needs to be where, what makes sense.
Like going back to that example you're giving, it's like, why is this something that's being hinged upon who you love or care about more, who's more important, when instead it could just be like, hey, person A is sick, person B, you have a graduation ceremony. How would you both feel? What are you guys thinking? What do you think I should do? Yeah. This is a group decision. We can figure this out together, right?
Yeah, what are your needs? Yeah. And I think, Ishik, you said the more important thing is not just you who needs to decide, they need to decide as well. The sick person might say, hey, I just need to be left alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I do not need you hanging around here. I would rather that you go there. So I'm stating what I need. So I think it's a two-way conversation.
Yeah.
And I think beyond even just being a two-way conversation, it's also, the whole thing is predicated on the assumption that persons A and B are in opposition to each other, right? That obviously they both want you to come, and if you choose to go to either other thing, then they will hate you now, and they'll hate the other person too. And it's all such like kind of bad assumptions, bad faith assumptions about everyone involved, instead of the honest truth, which is more often than not, there's, everyone's kind of on a similar team, right? Even people who aren't necessarily directly in relationship with each other, if A and B aren't in relationship, they are just metamors and they don't really talk, like that doesn't mean that they hate each other.
Yeah. I mean, even last night 2 nights ago, last night when we were out on a walk with the dogs and we were running late, and I was like, oh, and I had a video date planned with my other partner, and I was like, oh, he won't mind if I'm a little late. And you're like, well, I want to be respectful of his time. And like, it was just everybody wanted everybody to be okay, and we'll move the pieces around as they need to be moved. So it sounds like that's kind of the approach that you take as well, Deepak, of just like, everybody, let's all just talk.
Yeah. Choices have to be made in life, right? And that's why a lot of people who are proponents of monogamy would tell you that, hey, it's just practical. I haven't got the time or the energy. Okay, as long as you're not telling me that it's immoral, you do what you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And just changing the gears a little bit, as a therapist, relationship diversity is the only reliable antidote to loneliness that I have experienced in 15 years of my career. And now I want to be very careful. I've used the word relationship diversity. Polyamory is part of relationship diversity. Relationship diversity just meaning not having all of your diverse needs being fulfilled by one human being. You could be sexually and romantically still committed, but think of your partner not as your intellectual partner. Intellectually, their interests might lie somewhere else. You have an intellectual partner that you go to. You have another bird-watching partner that you go to. You need to have people who responsibly engage with you in mutual fulfillment of needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's where the antidote for loneliness comes from. Because today, loneliness is an epidemic in the West.
Mm-hmm.
It is in India as well. It's not that India is or the Eastern countries are somehow immune to loneliness. It's not that. But the more industrialized you get, the more organized you get, the more slots, tightly defined slots you have for behavior and people, the more you find yourself constrained into that box yourself. And the more I would love organization when it comes to planning, city planning, roads, this and that. Yes, be as organized and as efficient as you want, but be as fluid the moment you touch another human being.
You do have this like very varied set of experiences across multiple cultures, you know, being from India and also being raised in the UK and then now living for how long in Canada?
8 years now.
8 years. So like you have this
Not long enough to have changed my accent.
I think yours is keep yours.
Keep
yours
it,
is better.
So thank you.
So I'd love to hear, you know, do you have any kind of general perceptions of like notable differences culturally between any of these different locales and cultures?
Oh, absolutely. I come from the land of Kama Sutra, and Kama Sutra is amongst the first few books that were written that details sexual intercourse between multiple people. I come from a country where there is a temple depicting lesbian orgy.
I'm going to need to get that address from you.
Right? No, but there's even though there is this very small area of the temple, but it's quite a visible site where you have people being depicted in group settings, which are not just celebrating a festival. No, it's celebrating each other's genitals. It's very clear.
So, no ambiguity here. They weren't roommates. They're enjoying each other's genitals.
No ambiguity there. And I don't by any way mean to make it sound like that's all that the temple is devoted to whatsoever. But I do come from a culture where there are references of gods and goddesses having multiple partners, where there are prominent characters from epics that have 5 husbands. There are prominent gods who have multiple wives. For example, we have a god called Krishna. Now, the love story that we talk about is Radha and Krishna, and Radha and Krishna were never married to each other. Krishna was married to another woman called Rukmini, and Radha was married to another man called Anay. But the temples are always devoted to Radha and Krishna. So these cultures do have arguably a wider, more diverse understanding of love and of relationships than a lot of monotheistic cultures, which have very prescribed and proscribed rules depending on what the label of your relationship says. And now I won't be able to name all of them, but how in the West we have LGBT, some 4 or 5, 6 concepts to describe sexual and gender varieties of life. In India, we had 18 different terms. 18. Queer people had their own language called Hakoti language. Just like in England, there was Polari, which was the language of the queer people. So you could speak it, it would sound like English, but it's not English, so that you could get by in general public without being clocked, basically. Till today, you have tribes in India. Now, I say tribes. They largely don't live inside the cities, but there are tribes, recorded tribes, that have polyandry as a common practice. Not just polygamy with multiple wives. You have multiple husbands. The cultures that were pre-monotheistic gods had far more understanding of personal diversities and relationship diversities. And today, India cannot claim, as we are today, cannot claim to be the sexually most open country. And that is what it is. But monotheistic cultures and religions were far more interested in not just personal growth, but also social order. And hence they were far more political and social in their approach to life, where we will tell you these 10 things you cannot do, and if you do them, then you're not a good Christian or Jewish person or an Islamic person. And these are the clear understandings of, what is right, what's not. These are the rules and unchanging rules that we've laid down. So one book, one way of life, one God, and anything else is blasphemous. It's the same pattern that you see in relationship approach. One partner, one sexual partner, one emotional partner, one social partner, and then everything else is blasphemous. So there are parallels between what is considered humanly ideal and what's considered relationally ideal.
I think that's super, super interesting. I've never heard kind of that idea of representing monotheism versus polytheism as like monotheism has this one set of like, these are the rules, right? Like as said by one higher authority and that's it, right? And then polytheism is like, yeah, I mean, there's not one way. There's as many ways as there are gods. And it's like kind of a more akin to like a community all having varying opinions about how like, oh, this person thinks that you should do this and this person thinks you should do this. And there isn't one right, correct way and everything else is abhorrent and divergent and disgusting. That's very cool.
Because of colonialism, because of European expansion, because of Muslim caliphate expansions as well, it's not just like we forget that the Ottoman Empire and these were the first few colonial powers as well, right? So because of this, most governments around the world are monotheistic. This is my constitution. This is how I'll function. So hence you would see, regardless of the culture, you would see that most governments have seen that it is easier to manage a two-person marriage than to manage a poly marriage. By the way, in India, there are about 9 kinds of weddings that have been described, and one of them is a one-night stand called Preet Vivah, which happens for one night only. But it's considered Vivah, which is the union, the Congress.
Okay. Wow. A one-night wedding.
Yeah, there's a marriage in which the woman defies her father and does what she wants to do. Then there is a marriage in which a woman marries the person that her father's chosen, or she runs away. But it's all, interestingly, largely, not all, from the woman's perspective.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta do some more reading on all this.
Yeah. A lot of non-monotheistic cultures have very interesting understanding of companionship, right? So that kind of cultural diversity gives you a lens which tells you you're not alone.
You know, you mentioned earlier that you're also planning a wedding. Is that coming up soon?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
We are. I'm planning a wedding in Canada soon, and we're very, very pleased that most of our friends know. In fact, two or three of the people who are coming are a throuple.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
You're giving a +2?
A +2. I'm like, listen, we might have to be monogamist when it comes to +1 because of money.
Sure.
I don't want to feed 15 of your partners.
It's funny. I've just accepted recently an invitation to a friend of mine's wedding. And he was like very sweet about it. He was like, I'm so sorry. This is a very monogamous centered thing, but like you do have a +1. And I was like, that's very sweet. I'm bringing no one.
Yeah.
But that's very sweet of you to acknowledge at least that it's
even acknowledging it is
even acknowledge it was a very sweet thing of him to do. But anyway, sorry.
No, we did call the throuple because we are friends with all of them.
Sure.
Yeah. We're friends with all of them. So yeah, that's what we are excited about. But I think the way I'm writing my vows are also not like, it's like wink, wink, nudge, nudge kind of thing. But it quite clearly mentions that ours is not a commitment that is shown with exclusivity. It's shown by showing up.
Well, thank you so much, Deepak, for joining us. It's so lovely to hang out with you and to learn a little bit more about you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me, Genevieve and Ishik. Yeah. I really appreciate this. I learned a lot from you as well.
Oh,
well, we would love to invite you to talk about any projects that you're working on, and where can people find you online if they want to follow you?
Yeah, I'm currently, they can find me on Instagram as Mr. Psychologist. And I'm also working on a very interesting emotional education project in India called Aap Kaise Ho, which is AAPKAISEHO. So yeah, it's Aap Kaise Ho literally means how are you? So we're running that project as well, and and it's got all the subtitles in it, but a lot of the advice that comes through is largely around the Indian and Eastern context of mental health. So you folks might be interested in having a look at that. And but I'll talk about the books only once I have found a publisher, not before that.
Got it. Okay. No
enough.
problem. So stay tuned, everyone, at Mr. Psychologist.
And if you are looking for more polyamory content, as always, Genevieve is on TikTok and Instagram at Chill Polyamory, as well as on YouTube, where she's talking about representations of non-monogamy in film and TV. That's at YouTube, also at Chill Polyamory.
You can support those projects and this podcast by going to patreon.com/chillpolyamory. And that is also where I offer live chats, peer support, pen pal service. That's where I put my personal stories and years of resources about polyamory. So if you want to check out all of that and help us pay our bills, that's patreon.com/chillpolyamory.
That's where also all the juicy details are. So if you want to get some of those.
Yeah, if you want gossip.
Get to the goss. That's where it's at. But to our listeners and our viewers, as always, this has been I Could Never. And just remember that just because you've never done something before doesn't mean that you can't do it.
Bye.
Bye.